Video 1. Unboxing and installation. Unboxing. Rim brake. Welcome to our ROTOR UNO installation video. The complete rim brake group set arrives in one box. Inside, you will find your UNO carbon shift levers, your rear derailleur, your braze-on front derailleur, your rear brake calipers, your front brake calipers, your UNO cassette, your UNO chain, your brake bleeding kit, and your shift system bleeding kit. UNO shift and brake levers have carbon fibre parts and house both shift and brake master cylinders. The UNO rear derailleur is hydraulic actuated. It is CNC machined with carbon fibre parts. The UNO front derailleur is designed to work perfectly with our oval Q-rings and our round rings. The UNO rim brakes are equipped with brake pads for aluminium rims. The UNO cassette's two biggest sprockets are made of aluminium and bolted onto the main body of steel sprockets. Your brake bleeding kit includes all the bits and pieces and tools, as well as all necessary ancillary equipment to bleed your brake system. Your shift system bleeding kit also includes all the bits and pieces, tools, and necessary ancillary equipment to bleed your shift system. Disc brake. The complete disc brake group set also arrives in one box. Inside you will find your UNO carbon shift levers, your rear derailleur, your braze-on front derailleur, your rear brake calipers, your front brake calipers, your UNO cassette, your UNO chain, your brake bleeding kit, and your shift system bleeding kit. UNO disc brake calipers are available either in a flat mount version or a post mount version. Registration. Please register your UNO group set with your product ID card at rotorbike.com to enjoy the best service and all the advantages available to our UNO customers. Quick installation guide. Do not forget to check the quick installation guide at the bottom of the box. It will show you all major installation, bleeding, and adjustment steps. Pre-bled system. Our UNO group set arrives to you completely pre-bled and fully functioning. We test each and every single unit in-house as part of our final product quality control. We've done this in case you may need to bleed the brake and shift systems. We will cover all major installation and adjustment steps for our ROTOR UNO group set in the following videos. Installation. Tools. In order to install your UNO group set components on your bike and connect them, you need the following tools: 5mm hex key, 3mm hex key, small size Phillips head key, T25 Torx key, small range torque wrench. Consumables are a small brush, assembly grease, and friction paste. Consumable and safety equipment. Always use gloves for your safety. Prepare a clean cloth as you are dealing with hydraulic fluid. Shift and brake lever installation. There is no difference between shift and brake lever installation for UNO disc brake group sets and UNO rim brake group sets. Completely open the shift and brake lever clamp bolt. You can also remove the bolt in case your handlebar has a large diameter. Pull the shift and brake lever off of the handlebar. Apply friction paste to the handlebar's clamping surface and move the shift and brake lever to your desired position. Tighten down the shift and brake lever clamp bolt to 3 Newton-meters using a 3mm hex key. Carefully remove the rubber hoods. Remove the plastic shells, which give the shift and brake lever its ergonomic shape, with a small Phillips head screwdriver. Make sure not to lose any of these small bolts. Install the second shifter accordingly. Disc brake caliper installation. ROTOR UNO is offered in 3 different brake versions: rim brakes, and either post-mount or flat-mount disc brakes. We will start with the front flat-mount disc brake version first. Make sure that the brake pads are removed from the caliper and that the pad separator is inserted into the caliper. It will prevent the brake pads from getting contaminated with hydraulic fluid during the installation and bleeding process. Uno disc brake group sets use 160mm discs. Therefore, an adapter is required to mount the brake calipers onto both the fork and frame. Make sure to use the adapter indicated with front for the fork with the arrow pointing upward. First, mount the front flap mount adapter to the brake caliper before installing the complete assembly on the fork. Tighten the adapter to 3 Nm using a 4mm hex key. Mount the caliper with the adapter to the fork using a 3mm hex key. Follow your fork supplier's torque instructions, or, if not indicated, tighten to 3 Nm. The rear disc also has a diameter of 160mm. Therefore, an adapter is required to mount the brake calipers onto the frame. Make sure to use the adapter indicated with rear with the arrow pointing forward. First, mount the rear flat mount adapter to the brake caliper before installing the complete assembly onto the frame. Tighten the adapter to 3 Nm using a 3mm hex key. Mount the adapter with the caliper onto the frame using a 3mm hex key. Tighten to 3 Nm. The post-mount brake caliper installation may also require an adapter for 160mm discs depending on your frame design. Tighten the caliper using a 3mm hex key to 3 Nm. Disc brake rotor installation. Uno uses Magura discs. They come in the 6-bolt version only. Uno disc brake group sets are only available with 160mm discs to guarantee the best heat management and brake modulation, regardless of rider weight. Use a T25 Torx key to tighten the bolts to maximum 4 Nm. Rim brake caliper installation. Place the rim brake caliper onto the fork. The front rim brake caliper has a longer bolt. Tighten the brake caliper bolt to maximum 5 Nm. Use a 5mm hex key. Place the rim brake caliper onto the frame. The rear rim brake caliper has a shorter bolt. Tighten the brake caliper bolt to maximum 5 Nm. Use a 5mm hex key. Rear derailleur installation. Before installing the rear derailleur, grease the threads. Use a T25 Torx key to tighten the rear derailleur to maximum 3 Nm. Front derailleur installation. Remove the anchor bolt from the front derailleur and grease the bolt threads. Attach the front derailleur to the frame's braze-on fitting. A chain catcher can be optionally mounted, but is not necessary. Rotor Uno only comes with a braze-on front derailleur. Use a T25 Torx key to tighten the front derailleur to maximum 3 Nm. Cassette installation. Our Uno cassette comes in 2 pieces, including the cassette body and our lock ring. It will fit any free hub body with a Shimano or SRAM spline. Place the cassette onto the free hub body. Make sure that the spline engages with the cassette and that the cassette is fully seated. Put some grease on the contact surface of the cassette's lock ring. Tighten the cassette lock ring to maximum 40 Nm. Use a Shimano cassette tool. Routing. Tools. For hose routing, the following tools are required: hose cutter, Uno flat wrench, 7mm flat wrench, 8mm flat wrench, frame routing guide, and a small range torque wrench. Hydraulic fluid and ancillary equipment. Safety equipment includes gloves and safety goggles. Brake system routing. In order to prevent brake pad contamination while working on the hydraulic system, remove brake pads and insert the yellow pad separator into the caliper. Use a guide to route the hydraulic hose through the fork and frame. Cut the hydraulic hose to about 100mm from the shifter connection. Route the hydraulic hose through the frame using the guide. Before connecting the hose, make sure to allow for sufficient steering freedom. Remove the cut piece of hose from the shifter. Do not reuse the olive. Check the connector bolt before installing. Place the connector bolt onto the final length of hydraulic hose. Push a new shift olive onto the hydraulic hose and make sure to use the brake needle. Carefully press the brake needle into the brake hose. We recommend pressing it in instead of tapping it in. Tighten the connector bolt to 4 Nm using a torque wrench. Make sure the hose connection is well seated in the shifter chassis. Check the lever to detect if there is air inside the system. Shift system routing. After routing and connecting the brake system, we switch focus to the shift system, including routing the front and rear derailleurs. Use our guide to route the hydraulic hose from the derailleur into the frame and up to the handlebars. Cut the hose at the pressure point adjuster in order to route the hose up from the derailleur to the handlebars. Connect the guide with the hose and route it through the frame. Remove the cut hose from the pressure point adjuster. Use a 7 mm flat wrench and a 5.5 mm Uno flat wrench. Place the connector bolt and new olive onto the hose. Do not forget the pressure point adjuster's plastic caps and the frame plugs. Tighten the connector bolt to 3 Nm using a torque wrench and a 5.5 mm Uno flat wrench. Check the shift system for functionality. You should already be able to actuate the rear derailleur. The front derailleur is routed accordingly. First, route the guide through the frame. Using the guide provided, route the hose up from the front derailleur to the handlebars. Cut the hose at the pressure point adjuster and route the hose through the frame. Connect the pressure point adjuster, tighten the connector bolt, and check the front derailleur for functionality. Internal routed cockpit. Routing for internally routed handlebars differs slightly from the previously explained process. In each case, both hoses should be cut close to the pressure point adjuster. Use our guide for internally routed handlebars. Connect the guide to the hose and route the hose through the handlebars. Remove the remaining hose from the pressure point adjuster. Place the connector bolt and new olive onto the hose. Do not forget the pressure point adjuster's plastic caps and the frame plugs. Keep in mind that the pressure point adjuster has 2 differently sized plastic caps. Tighten the connector bolt to 3 Nm using a torque wrench and a 5.5 mm Uno flat wrench. One side of the pressure point adjuster requires a 7 mm flat wrench, the other side an 8 mm flat wrench. Check the shift system for functionality. You should already be able to actuate the rear derailleur. Thanks for watching. This concludes video 1, unboxing and installation. Check out video 2 for brake system bleeding.